with both of us ducking and bobbing at around 15,000 miles per hour. Not even the best eyes in the universe would be able to watch this dogfight. No, the only way I could detect the other space torpedo was with heat radar. Tiny as the vent flares were, the heat they produced showed up on radar like mushrooms as big as thunderstorms, especially in the absolute cold of outer space. That was good for me, being able to track the other space torpedo as easily as watching a storm cross the sky. But it also meant the pilot of the other torpedo could follow my movement too. And my Hammerhead was the lead torpedo, a sitting duck in the computer target sights of the pilot behind me. I made a quick decision. I flared all of my vents equally for an instant. I knew my direction wouldn't change, but it would cause a big blast of heat, hopefully blinding the pilot behind me. An instant later, I shut down all my vents, knowing my Hammerhead was now shooting through the mushroom of heat I just created. I exited the other side of the heat mushroom with no power or flares to give away my presence. To the heat radar of the pilot behind me, my Hammerhead was as black and cold as outer space itself. I was now invisible. I congratulated myself for my smart move. Then I panicked. There was no heat mushroom on my radar either. The pilot behind me must have done the same thing, shut down all vent flares. It could only mean one thing. The pilot had guessed my move and taken a directional reading of my flight path just before I shut down my vents. I knew I was dead. Without vent flares to control the direction of my Hammerhead, I wouldn't be able to change direction until I reactivated them. It would take my computer 30 seconds to run through its pre-ignition checklist. In space warfare, 30 seconds was eternity, because torpedo computers reacted much more quickly than human brains. In 30 seconds, the computer of the torpedo behind me would figure out my line of travel and shoot me with a laser before I could reactivate and change direction. Only 20 seconds left. White flashed over my visual from the other torpedo's target scanner. I was dead center in the laser target controls. I swallowed hard, preparing myself for the red killer flash that would follow in an instant, blowing my spacecraft to shreds. The explosion of my Hammerhead torpedo would be soundless, since you can't hear screams in the vacuum of outer space. Another white flash hit me instead. I jumped. The target scanner behind me didn't need confirmation. A third white flash. There was still no red laser to superheat the fuel tanks and blow the Hammerhead apart. I didn't understand. 3 times I'd been in the other pilot's sights. Why hadn't the other pilot fired the laser pulse? Without warning, my vents reactivated at the 30-second mark. I rolled safely out of the way. I looped, scanning my heat radar again to find the other space torpedo. Then my visual and my consciousness melted into black nothingness. Chapter 2. "I don't get it," I said to Rawling McTigray. "The pilot of the other space torp had me dead and let me go. What kind of computer program is that?" A minute earlier, the blackout of all my thoughts had signaled the end of my flight simulator program. I was brought out of virtual reality and back to my body in a lab room under the Mars dome. I was still sweating from the effort, and my arm muscles shook from stress. I really looked forward to a glass of water. Rawling leaned forward to unstrap me. Whenever I connected to the computer through virtual reality, my body was secured on a bed, so I couldn't roll loose and break the connection. "Could you be wrong, Tyce?" Rawling asked. "I know it's almost inconceivable that you might make a mistake, but—" "Ha ha," I said. "Very funny." Rawling scratched his short, dark hair and smiled, the way he always did when he teased me. I'd known him all my life, long before he'd been promoted from one of the 2 medical doctors under the Mars dome to director of the entire project. Though he was in his mid-40s and I was only 14 in Earth years, Rawling was my best friend. After all, until a few months ago, I'd been the only kid under the dome. Ever since I could remember, Rawling had worked with me for hours every day, training me in a virtual reality program.